Hi, my name is Bethany, and today I wanted to talk to you about autism advocacy. Really quickly, one, I didn't address my last wig, but like this one, you can't see it all, but it's like got all the pastels and the rainbowy colors that I obviously would never manage to probably even get my hair to. So I got excited about it, and then I have my merch. Autism isn't a dirty word. It finally came in. I posted about it online before you're gonna see this. Anyway, if you want this hoodie or other designs in other formats, it doesn't have to be a hoodie, you can check out the link to my merch store. So recently, I've had a rude awakening about human beings, I think. And that is that autistic people are just as human as anyone else. Now you might be thinking to yourself, really? Thank you, Captain Obvious. We're humans here. But I guess in my brain, I thought that being a part of an autism community or community of autistic people somehow like automatically meant that everyone was genuine and everyone would be like this wonderful place of like no drama and no crazy stuff going on. Like everybody was just like kind and understanding, and we would like work stuff out. And I don't know, I was naive. I guess I just thought that people wouldn't have bad intentions or do anything bad or mean or anything like that. And the thing is, like, as someone I know said, human people do human things. I don't know, it just in my brain I thought for some reason that somehow the autistic community would be different, but the fact of the matter is that people are people, and people do things that suck sometimes. That has been unfortunate. And if that's something that you might need to be warned about, I'll let you know. Not necessarily 100% relevant to what I want to say, but I think important to be said is that even like these groups that are online and stuff, just be careful. It's the internet. People can lie. Some people do try to target autistic people because they are more vulnerable and more naive. And then there are actually autistic people who you'll run into who do have bad intentions as well. So I just want to take that moment to also remind people that just to know that you shouldn't just fully trust people that you don't know, even if they're autistic. Anyway, that brings me to the question, am I an autism or an autistic advocate? That depends on what that means, and I'm not sure what that means sometimes. I will say that I've seen some autistic advocates who are wonderful people, who've been wonderful to me, who've done wonderful work in the autism and autistic communities, who have brought awareness and understanding and acceptance and celebration of who we are and information and all those sorts of things. So I'm not like just trying to crap on everybody, because that's not fair. It's just not fair. But I do think that there are some tendencies that are very ugly that somehow get swept away under the name of advocacy. And for that reason, if that's what you call advocacy, then no, I would not like to be called an advocate. So if you followed me for a long time, you might know that I am a very big proponent of people are individuals. We are not all just one mass collective. Just as much as every autistic person is unique and different from each other, I believe that that applies to everyone. That just being under like one label doesn't make everyone the same, doesn't mean everyone thinks the same, doesn't mean everyone sees the world the same. And that also means that, you know, just because if someone has a bad view of autism, they shouldn't treat every autistic person badly because of that. Does that make sense? So for me, like every single person is an individual. Every person is, you know, responsible for themselves and for their thoughts and for how they treat other people and those sorts of things. But I've been seeing a lot of people who seem to perpetuate the idea that you should shut people down if they disagree with you. So if you disagree about person first language. If you say person with autism instead of autistic person, some people might, in the name of advocacy, attack you. And I think that's stupid. I know one thing that's been recently controversial is my personal view of the puzzle piece, which a lot of people disagree with me on, and that's 100% okay. Everyone has a right to feel how they feel about it. However, deciding that companies are ableist because they use the puzzle piece, deciding that parents and families of autistic people are bad people because they have puzzle piece things, deciding that autistic people are not allowed to have any positive feeling toward a puzzle piece is kind of creepy, I guess, because I feel like people should be allowed to have their own point of view. And to tell people, well, us as a collective have decided this, so you don't get to say anything, that is dangerous, and if that's what you call advocacy, I don't want that. I believe that if we want to say neurodiversity, if we want to say that we are a diverse group of people who have diverse ways of thinking, diverse ways of experiencing the world, diverse ways of perceiving, then how can we also say that everyone must agree with me or I'm going to tear them to pieces? That, in my opinion, is not advocacy, but if that's what autism advocacy is, don't call me an advocate. I've seen people immediately shut down, run over, attacked for saying Asperger's, even though Asperger's is actually diagnosed in other countries still. I was not aware of that, but it is. Some people have been diagnosed with Asperger's and would prefer to still go with their actual diagnosis, even though it's technically autism. And people are just ripping people up. How dare you say it this way? How dare you use this particular word when it's their diagnosis? I have seen where people have said that you're not allowed to take it personal if you get basically attacked by a bunch of autistic people, advocates or otherwise, for saying or doing something that they feel is offensive to autistics. So say that someone uses person first language and has a puzzle piece and says something they think is great, and an autistic person sees that. If they rip them up and scream at them and tell them how horrible they are and how dare they perpetuate this hate and how dare they be this person and they don't understand autism and they're just this awful autism martyr mom and all of that. There's been people who said you're not allowed to take that personally because we're educating you. That is not education. Screaming in someone's face and ripping them up because they said words in a different order than you would prefer is not really an acceptable thing to do as a human being, in my personal opinion. But to say that's just, we're allowed to do that. No, you don't get to sweep your ugly behavior under the rug and call it advocacy. And if that's what people mean when they say autism advocate, don't call me an advocate. Crying ableism at literally everything completely erases its meaning. Doesn't really help anybody. And again, using words that just make people feel like trash doesn't help. How can we have a conversation with people if all we're doing is policing every single word that they say? Saying that Asperger's is somehow ableist. I know that we do tend to learn from other people what is acceptable behavior, but I also believe that we are capable of judging the kind of behavior that we do, the words that we say as individuals. So I've seen people provoke people. This is a common occurrence, apparently. Welcome to Twitter, welcome to the internet, where they'll provoke people, get them riled up, get them to say something, screenshot it, send it to everyone else, and tell them to block that person. Welcome to cancel culture. Autism is not an excuse for you to act ugly, for you to be an ugly person to other people. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to have conversation. It's okay to have your own point of view about something. I mean, heaven forbid. And that's just what's so weird to me about this, is because when I thought, wow, autism advocates, these are people who fight for the diversity of people, the way their brains work, the way they see the world, their thought patterns, like, wow, this is where I belong. I believe that people are individuals. I believe people are different and that's okay, but it's like we're not allowed to be different because somehow that threatens the message. But quite frankly, if your message is so fragile that someone disagreeing or criticizing it breaks it to pieces, perhaps you should re-examine it. So if all of those things that I mentioned mean autism advocacy or autistic advocacy, count me out. Don't call me an autism or autistic advocate if that's what you want to call advocacy. And I get it, people are going to be mad that I said this because for some reason, pretending that everyone gets along is somehow better for the image. But that's like, I don't get that. I don't get that, because how are we as people who are fighting to let autistic people know that they can be autistic and not be ashamed of who they are, that they can live their lives and stim in public if they want to, and be awkward if they want to instead of feeling like trash? How are we telling people that and then also saying, hey, we have to pretend and save face while we do this? This is not cute, okay? How can you say that you advocate for autistics when you scream at them for not having the same opinion or not using the right words? I don't understand that. I'm interested in conversation. I understand that disagreement is inevitable. We're gonna disagree about things. And for the record, this particular channel is my thoughts and perspectives as I learn more about autism, as I experience my life as an autistic individual. I want to educate people, I want to look into things, I want to be able to do all the things because that's just part of who I am, and I want to present it to you. And when I present it to you, you can say, I don't like your opinion, I don't agree with you, you have some flaws here. That's okay. We're gonna have conversation. I don't expect everyone to agree with me, and I don't expect to agree with whatever this imaginary autism collective is. I do not assume to speak for other people. I speak for myself, and I believe that everyone speaks for themselves. I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, every single person who is autistic is X, Y, and Z, because that is very much against the very part of autism. That's our differences in how our brains work. So for people to assume that certain people speak for every autistic person, I think that's very foolish. And there are many voices when it comes to autism and the whole autistic situation, because there are sides and whatever, and somehow people keep on making autism political. And why? It's just a part of who we are. Why does this have to be all about making fronts and pretending and being two-faced? And I thought these things might not exist in an autistic space, but I was naive because we're human beings, and human beings, we deal with that. We deal with wanting to look good. We deal with people finally liking us, because I think that is something that autistics do deal with a lot, is people don't like them a lot. And so when you find a space where people might like you, it's easy to become jealous if someone seems like they like other people more, because this is supposed to be your space. But as advocates, I don't think it's productive to tear each other down and shut people up. Advocates are not, just because they said the words in a wrong order. As for person first language, guess what? It is very likely that I will use a mixture, because that's just kind of how I talk. Sometimes I say with autism, sometimes I say people on the spectrum, sometimes I say autistic, and I mean no harm by any of them. And if that is seriously the biggest issue you have in life, is telling people that they're not allowed to say something a certain way, then you and I have very different lives. And I think that if you want to call yourself an advocate, I feel that there are much more important things to deal with. But again, if that's advocacy, count me out. I'm just an autistic person with a YouTube channel who wants to do things. And I want to share my perspective and my thoughts and my ideas. And that does not represent the whole. It never will. Never will. And I want to do things. I want to help people. I want to educate people. I want to share my experience so that other people don't feel so alone. I don't think it's my job to tell people what to say. I don't think it's my job to rip people up for disagreeing with me. I think that's a bunch of foolishness that people try to use as only a neurotypical thing, but it appears to me it's just a human thing. So maybe this video isn't as nice and fun as I try to be. It may be a little pointed. It may seem a little impolite, but some things I've seen in the autism community recently have just really, it's not okay. It's just not.
Someone on Twitter asked the actually autistic community if they felt afraid to share their thoughts and opinions and such, and these are some of the responses. I did keep this anonymous just because it does appear that some people probably would not appreciate their user being displayed in this video. Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a real judgy side to the community. There's also an amazing, open, and accepting side, but you don't always know who you're talking to. The worst thing is that we can't share our feelings with the very people who should get it. Not afraid, no. At my age, I've had to learn to deal with bullies and being misunderstood. I am frustrated with the current situation, though, especially when people supposedly on the same side of the fight attack others and quote tweet them to encourage others to join in. Very sad. Yes, and these linguistic rules change rapidly. I was scolded for using NB as an abbreviation for non-binary. I'm always afraid to be wrong or to have an opinion that's not correct. So unless it's what the majority of #actuallyautistic people think, I won't say it. All the time. I feel like there are such stringent rules imposed by a few loud members of the community, and I constantly worry I'm going to say something wrong and be used as an example. I once got subtweeted by one of the most major #actuallyautistic accounts on Twitter because I used a term she didn't like. I felt like an idiot. There's a serious gatekeeping problem at hand here. I am now. I have discovered I have some views that are not typical of people in the autism community. I have shared different views and have felt shouted down by the majority. I am quite vulnerable at the moment, currently saying less to avoid getting hurt. I've noticed it's really sad how the autism community is divided. So many of us want to help, but certain parents get mad and tell us to shut up. Then there's the autistic people who are prejudiced towards those of color. It's a hot mess. I'm a mom. I have a different perspective of what non-autistic parents go through than autistic non-parents. Some see me not fighting or arguing or empathizing with their feelings as the same as condoning ableist behavior or mistreatment.
I personally believe that we're allowed to express ourselves and express what we believe and what we think, and that should be okay. So again, to my viewers who have no idea that, you know, people are people, and sometimes they do not nice things to people because they were emotional or upset or whatever it was. I'm sorry. Welcome to the world with me. I know, it's the internet. I don't know why I'm surprised. I hope that this wasn't like a really poopy video. It feels kind of like one because I've been feeling that way. I've been feeling crappy because of what's been going on, and it's made me feel like, is this worth it? Not only because of how people have treated me personally, but how I've seen other people be treated. How I've seen parents who try to interact be just mowed down for saying the wrong words, and other autistic people mowed down for saying the wrong words, having a different perspective, having a different way of thinking, which to me is just so counterintuitive to neurodiversity or diversity in general. So that's just how I've been thinking about things, and I've had a pretty crappy time. Just gonna be real honest with you. Thanks for watching. If you found it interesting or whatever else, you can like it, dislike it. If you have thoughts, go for it. Put them in the comments below. But if you're here just to cause trouble, I I'm probably gonna just block you because I've learned that I don't have to suffer. My mental health does not have to suffer for people who literally just want to cause problems. If you're respectful about your point of view, then cool. Well, we can all talk. I put out autism related content usually every Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on this channel. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And I think that's everything. So I hope you're having a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you in my next video.